In the second half of this video, I'm going to be modeling some examples for you. So the first thing you need to do is you need to really look at your factors and determine what rule you're working with. So when I look at this first set of numbers, I'm multiplying 6, which is a whole number, times a fraction. This is the important part, guys. What are you comparing to? What are you guessing? That when I multiply these numbers, is my answer going to be, is it going to be less than, greater than, or equal to? All right. So when I multiply 6 times 2/5, will my answer be bigger than, less than, or equal to my fraction? Well, I think about this is definitely rule number 3. Multiplying fractions and improper or whole numbers, all right? When I multiply these, okay, my answer is definitely going to be greater than this fraction because I'm saying that I'm going to multiply the fractions 2/5. I'm going to do it 6 times, which means my answer is definitely going to be bigger than that fraction. So for this one, I'm going to use the symbol greater than, or you can simply just write in the word greater. Okay, the next example looks like 2 fractions, but look closer. 7/7 is another way to write the number 1. Whenever I see that, guys, I just scribble the number 1 right over it. What are we comparing it to? 4/5. So when I multiply 4/5 times 1, my answer, is it going to be less than 4/5? Is it going to be greater than 4/5? Or is it going to be equal to 4/5? Well, I know that whenever I multiply a fraction times 1, the answer will always be itself. So these are going to be equal. Okay? Or, and this is rule number 2, guys. Whenever I multiply a fraction times 1, the product will be equal to the fraction, but less than 1. Okay? Let's take a look at a few more examples. Okay? My factors here. I have a fraction, and I have the number 1, and I'm comparing it to the fraction. Just like we did prior, this is rule number 2, guys, multiplying a fraction and 1. My answer, when I multiply anything times 1, is going to be equal to itself. So I'm comparing it to the fraction. So I'm going to be equal. Next example, my factors are 2 fractions, 4/9, 3/8. Those are both fractions. When I multiply a fraction by a fraction, my pieces are going to get smaller. Whenever I multiply 2 fractions, this is rule number 1, guys. My product will always be less than. Remember, less than, I always say it looks like an L on its side, or I can simply write the word less than. Boys and girls, I just want to go back for a moment. Let's say I was doing this and I forgot my rules. I could not remember them at all. Remember, you don't have to, these rules are to help you work smarter, not harder. If I could not remember these rules at all, I would simply just solve the equation. So I would say, okay, 6/1 times 2/5 is 12/5. Okay, boys and girls, when you look at this, you know that 12/5 is definitely bigger than 2/5. Okay, if you needed to convert it, you could, but I know that this is improper, and that's a fraction. So I know that this is greater than this. So that's why I'm saying if you forget these rules, please just solve the equation and then just insert your greater than, less than, or equal to. Okay? I want to take you through a little bit more of this slideshow. Boys and girls, when you open this on your own, this is going to be an interactive. It's going to be a Pear Deck slideshow. So you're going to have options here. So you'll just complete this. So you're going to complete the statement. So 3/5 times 2/7 will be, and then you'll fill that in. It's a Pear Deck. It's going to be multiple choice. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 5 questions to do on your own. If you're